I'm Charles Aite. To our first story this hour, a petroleum expert, Dr. Suleiman Yusuf, has challenged the government to halt the export of crude oil and rather invest in its refinery so as to make up for the continuous hike in fuel prices across the country. His comment follows predictions of a gallon of petrol hitting 8 to 10 cities in the days ahead, as global Brent crude exceeds $120 per barrel amid the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Dr. Suleiman Yusuf joins us for more on this concern that he's raised. We're grateful, sir, that you could join us. You have concerns about Ghana exporting crude amid stark consumer lamentations over high fuel prices. Why is that?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you, Charles, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yes, I have always expressed that concern that why are we calling ourselves oil exporting nation when we cannot use that to support our downstream side? I remember I always mentioned that the energy sector as a whole is not like a segregated entity. It is made up of upstream and downstream. So if you operate such a unit where you cannot use one section to support the other, I think it's not going to benefit the economy. Now, I don't have any major problem in exporting. In fact, exporting hitherto should be good because it will bring in a lot of foreign input into the land. But I'm very much concerned about exporting a raw material where you can drive your strategic advantage on. And in this case, crude oil. If a raw material export of any form in any economy has never been any beneficial to the economy at any point in time. And in this case, our situation is crude oil. We have a strategic advantage and ability to be able to add value, to the raw material called crude oil. Yet we operate a system whereby we almost export everything that we produce, and then we import everything that we consume in terms of white product or finished product. That has never inured to the benefit of the economy, and that the fallout is what we are seeing now, Charles. For instance, if we have a situation whereby at a point in time, we have a local refinery where most of this finished product can be sourced locally. I think first of all, if you look at what I mentioned about the three things that goes into what consumer pays at the pump, exchange rate is a key factor, taxes are another key factor, and then the prevailing prices are another key factor. So any one of these points that does not benefit you is going to drill the economy. Okay, Charles. So in short, what I'm putting across is that you cannot drive a competitive advantage in an economy where you have capability of adding value to a particular raw material that you can drive your strategic advantage on. Then you keep exporting that raw material and then importing, the derivative of that same raw material. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not against any export in total. In fact, Ghana crude, let me put it on record, Ghana crude is a premium type. It's a very high quality. So even if you have a local refinery, we are not going to take that kind of crude into the refinery. We're going to take like a 10% of that, and then we blend that with 90% of low-grade crude oil. We can still do our export. It's not that we can't do export. We can do that. But there's no use, it doesn't make real sense to export everything that you produce as crude oil and then import the same finished product in that same manner. And remember, the downstream is as vibrant as the upstream. Downstream, as we speak now, it controls about 6 to 7% of our GDP. And so if you drill that portion of your economy, I think it's going to impact greatly on the entire, the scope of our economy. Because our economy, if you look at the economy as we speak now, it's almost being lubricated by the downstream, goods and services, transportation and everything. And so if you have friction within that area, and there's poor lubrication in that area, as in free flow and then affordability and dependability of energy supply within that sector, it's going to cascade into negative impact on the economy.
Indeed.
And that's actually what we're having now. If we don't take pragmatic step at this moment, and then we allow fuel price to hit 10 and even going above, it's going to have a very massive negative impact on our economic recovery.
Indeed, and of course, we do have Duncan Amwa, the Executive Secretary of COPEC, who will also join in this discussion with you, Dr. Suleimana. But even before we bring him on board, the question now is, how can government reverse this trend, of continuing to focus its energies on export rather than, considering the refinery of crude? How can this trend be reversed practically?
Yeah, practically, it takes a strong leadership, Charles, because the competing interests in this field, they are so high. We have so much competing interest, and it's so much. There's a lot of money involved in this business, this kind of business. So the first thing I would throw the challenge to the government that we need strong leadership at the highest level to get the refinery back to business, because the interest is simply so high. And I think I'll call the government to bring the PSPs involved in this situation, the petroleum service providers, because there's only this fear that if a refinery runs, businesses are going to collapse. I think that's a fallacy. We just have to work out a model where we run the refinery efficiently and profitably, and so that these our BDCs, these our strong BDCs and OMCs can source this product locally. All right. If we do that, I think it's going to help a lot. And so we should be able to demystify the fact that refinery running means that businesses at the downstream is going to collapse, because that has always been the fear. And so sometimes when you mention a refinery coming to business, people will say that, oh, we'll lose our business. BDCs will not be able to import. OMCs will not be able to. No. That's a misconception. We only have to work out the model and demystify that factor that people are going to lose business. They are the same people who are going to lift from the refinery. What we are saying is that instead of lifting from Europe, why can't we lift it from here? As easy as that. Okay. So yes, to answer your question again, let's get leadership at the topmost level to get the refinery back to business. And I'm saying that with the mindful of the fact that because of the competing interests involved, if we don't have a strong leadership, we'll end up seeing that, the refinery is not going to run again. So we will need a very, the government of Ghana have to, let's say, get a very strong MD, and he has to give the MD a free space to operate with zero interference whatsoever. If that happens, and give the MD what we call KPIs, key deliverables, that I've given you so I want the refinery to run within this period of time. All right. If the MD is not able to churn out, it's not able to live up to expectation, you just find another replacement.
Great.
Now I don't see the reason why a refinery which is not running, then we can have a change of MDs, about 5 different MDs. It is just because of that competing interest I talked about. And it is high time we face it as a nation. The better for us. Other than that, it would drill, everything that we struggle to achieve. Indeed.
Duncan Amoah, of course, you've been monitoring prices at the pumps. You've been giving us, your own projections from COPEC, your informed projections in that nature. You have helped us understand the fact that, prices at the pumps are expected to increase in the next few days, if not 24 hours. How are things looking from your end, from your own, bird's eye view, especially when we're seeing crude prices have specific, downfall over the past few days?
We're rather coming down at the pump, effective tomorrow. Sadly, if you do the cumulative averages for the past 2 weeks, what you're getting is where diesel has shot up by as much as $316 per metric ton. And then you also have petrol gone up by as much as $182 per metric ton. On regular, normal basis, or where, like I indicated, diesel has done almost $300 plus dollars, and then petrol is almost getting to $200 USD. The effect is that whether we like it or not, although as a consumer, it would have been my wish to see prices decline. The sad reality is that it is rather going to go up by some 2 to this different effective tomorrow. As to whether they would decide to average the 2 products, petrol and diesel, to say 10.4 or 10.5, those are decisions the OMC would have to take. But whatever be the case, we do not anticipate any OMC trading or reducing fuel prices, but rather prices seem to be going within one price and scoop.
Indeed, of course, I reckon that you may have, listened to the earlier submission by Dr. Yusuf Sulemana Duncan. He is making a case for governments to reconsider and, of course, focus its energies on oil refinery rather than export of crude. How do you respond to this, especially when we're seeing the downstream sector reap the detriment of what is happening around us globally?
Well, Daro, the truth is that as a country, we seem to get all our strategies wrong. It was not for nothing that the first president thought of putting a refinery up for Ghana so when later we are able to get oil in commercial quantities, we could be self-sustaining. Unfortunately, there is the other. So the concentration has been rather on importation of fuel from Europe, and you know that will come at a premium. You don't have the fuel security that you would have wished to have because your refinery is on its knees. The crude you're producing is technically all going out there to foreign markets, and then you would now change to the dollar to go to Europe to bring back the same product that you could have refined here. The strategy clearly is wrong, and that gives you no confidence for any sustainable pricing. And so whatever the West throws at us, whatever the world market indexes throw at us, we become what Senor Jose would refer your local shock restrainers to kick in. You rather find a situation where the goalpost is barely, covered. And so anything at all enters. And that explains why when the cedi depreciates, you pay more. When world market goes up, you pay more. When governments decide to increase taxes or review taxes the other way, you are definitely going to pay more. These three key factors, unfortunately, will continue to work against the Ghanaian in as far as we don't put in a strategy that deals with these issues as far as petroleum security is concerned, refining your own produce is concerned, ensuring that you do not now have to convert your cedi to dollar on a monthly basis to go importing fuel. Darrell, it's down to strategy, and we seem not to have prepared much. So if crude today should move to planning, I'm afraid.
Indeed, Duncan Amwa, we're grateful that you could join us. Indeed, it's Charles that will join us at 5 p.m. On Business Live, but we appreciate your input. Here's with Quebec there. We also appreciate the submission of Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, who earlier joined us from a petroleum expert in that regard.